Welcome to Making Moves. I'm Bill Milnes. Thanks for joining us today. We begin with gas and diesel-powered vehicles. Most of us still drive them, and most transit agencies still have them in their fleets. But for how long? The current world crisis has led to record-high gas prices across the U.S., leaving many to consider alternative fueled vehicles. The market for electric cars, for example, continues to grow as charging stations become more readily available and vehicle ranges increase. In the public transit world, there are benefits to having a diversified fleet beyond the commonly used diesel buses. Fuel sources like compressed natural gas, hydrogen, and electric are all getting more consideration from agencies including JTA. The long-term benefits to the environment are also a factor. So when JTA hosted Power Up, a two-day zero-emissions forum along with JEA, JAX USA, and the North Florida Clean Fuels Coalition, subjects like best sustainable fuel sources, environmental impacts, and workforce development for these advancing technologies were all hot topics. Making Moves senior correspondent Eugene Lindsay leads off our coverage.
And welcome you to our 2022 State of the Authority.
Hundreds gathered at the Prime Osborn Convention Center where the Jacksonville Transportation Authority gave its 2022 State of the Authority update. Following its report, JTA opened doors across the hall and welcomed guests to their industry forum. The focus of this year's forum was all about the environment, the impact transportation has on it, and the responsibility mass transit agencies have in helping to protect and preserve the earth.
It's clear. The transportation sector represents one of the largest, if not the largest, emitter of carbon dioxide, carbon emissions out of all of the modes and industries. Public transportation represents about 29% of that significant large population as far as the transportation industry. So for Jacksonville and our community to put a dent and deal with the situation in terms of carbon emissions, it's imperative that the JTA, with our massive fleet of diesel buses and support vehicles that operate on legacy fuels, on gasoline, that we find ways to, in a very efficient and orderly fashion, to be able to migrate to a zero emissions fleet.
Ford says in order to attain the goal of a zero-emissions fleet, strong partnerships and working hand-in-hand with organizations like the Jacksonville Electric Authority and the Northeast Florida TPO is a must.
Working with our board and our partners like JTA and DOT and others to see what kind of that new era looks like and how we're addressing our infrastructure, particularly on its emissions impacts.
As JEA, we are your community-owned utility. We've been with you for over a century, and it's our job to look over the horizon and see what we can do to contribute to a net zero emissions future.
For several years now, the JTA has been working to design a transit authority with a focus on the environment, developing projects like transit-oriented development. Its bus fleet is moving away from diesel fuel to using compressed natural gas and testing autonomous vehicles for its ultimate urban circulator project. At its completion will be a 10-mile autonomous network.
We believe we can attract people to get out of their private automobiles because this will be a much more frequent service and much more, I think, customer-friendly service, and take people very close from their front door to their destination.
And as engineers and transit officials work to develop mass transit that is eco-friendly, they're also focused on capturing and developing the workforce needed to keep this Go Green initiative on track.
And I think we have to meet them early. And as I go back to the 3 E's, we have to get to our students in elementary school as businesses, and we have to expose them, educate them first on the options out there, the career options. Once we've educated them on it, the light's gonna come on for 1 or 2 of them. Then we have to expose them to it. Give them an opportunity to come out and visit your workspace, see you in your capacity, see the issues that are important to you, why sustainability is important to you.
Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Transportation, Charles Small, stopped by with a message from his boss, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
It's something that he says all the time, but it's something that I think is really a mantra at USDOT now. And that is, every transportation decision is a climate decision. Every single one. Whether you're thinking about expanding or dredging your port, as was recently just done in Jacksonville, or if you're thinking about adding or creating a very cool automated vehicle system, all these things have a climate impact. And from day one of the Biden-Harris administration, we have sought to really instill climate as a key value in our transportation system.
On day 2 of this Zero Emissions Industry Forum, the Federal Transportation Administrator, Nuria Fernandez, was here to kick things off. In her keynote address, she praised the JTA for all their accomplishments and for taking bold steps to become an emissions-free transit agency. She says the JTA certainly has her support at the federal level.
We are committed at the Federal Transit Administration. We are all in making sure that we provide all of our grantees the opportunities through funding, through technical assistance, through research. Mobility is made so much more special through a zero emission reality. And these zero emission buses is what's going to take it the next step further. We want to see and work with you to pursue opportunities that are going to make this world cleaner and greener.
In Jacksonville, Eugene Lindsay, JTA Making Moves.
Just prior to the start of the Zero Emissions Forum, the JTA Board of Directors approved the authority's new 5-year strategic plan called Move 2027. The plan emphasizes a regional approach, with JTA partnering with nearby counties and expanding transit services to Nassau, Clay, St. John's, and Baker as a means to connect residents to employment opportunities here in Jacksonville. As you'll see in this video, JTA also intends to provide more neighborhood-friendly microtransit options, which offer a localized service closer to where people live. Take a look. There's one common thread among successful organizations. They all have a plan that outlines what they want to accomplish in the future and how they intend to achieve that success. As JTA's 5-year transportation master plan, Move 2027, outlines the way JTA aspires to develop a more connected transportation system, one that enhances service delivery and geographic reach by investing in new infrastructure and by adapting what we already have in place. Move stands for Mobility Optimization through Vision and Excellence, and is the roadmap for the future of transportation in Jacksonville and Northeast Florida. With Move, the authority's vision of achieving seamless mobility solutions for everyone is clearly defined. That doesn't make it easy, but anything worth achieving rarely is. The plan features 7 key initiatives, all designed to make the agency more effective, resilient, and agile. It will create a more convenient, nimble, and responsive transit network built around the evolving needs of our customers, like more microtransit and door-to-door options, making it easier to manage those close-to-home trips. Our regional partners have told us they need to be better connected to jobs. Seamless mobility solutions are a critical element to address the region's rapid growth and to stimulate economic development. An expanded regional network means more people will live near public transit, giving them options not previously available. With a best-in-class regional transportation center, world-class customer service will remain a top priority. We will continue to develop new technological advances, making transit experiences easier and more efficient than ever before. The authority will continue to establish itself as a leader in transportation innovation, adopting autonomous technology and green solutions. JTA will invest in new infrastructure and adapting what we already have in place, including upgraded hundreds of bus stops and shelters, making them safer, accessible, and more comfortable for our most vulnerable passengers, Our transit efforts will go beyond motorized vehicles. For those who prefer walking and biking, we are building portions of the Emerald Trail in conjunction with Groundworks Jacksonville and the city, so you can enjoy doing it safely and conveniently. And we will continue to value our local, state, and regional partners, both current and new, as we work to support a thriving Northeast Florida. Change of this magnitude doesn't happen in a vacuum, so our employees will be empowered to deliver on our vision. Bringing you the future of mobility today, this is Move 2027, and we are JTA. As Phase 1 of the Authority's Ultimate Urban Circulator program moves forward through design, JTA's Automation and Innovation team continue putting several different AVs through the paces as they finalize their U2C vehicle needs. Recently, the team hosted a special guest who has pushed Florida as a leader in autonomous technology. Florida State Senator Jeff Brandes of Pinellas County is one of the key figures behind important autonomous legislation. That legislation let the entire AV world know that Florida would be a major player in developing this new technology. Brandes has also played a critical role in starting the Florida AV Summit, which brings together the state's AV leaders to discuss how to further advance the technology in public transit, commercial uses, and more. In December, JTA will host the AV Summit at the Omni in nearby Amelia Island. So Senator Brandes made a stop in Jacksonville to see JTA's testing center for himself and learn more about the advancements JTA is making in the autonomous shuttle arena.
Really just to see what Jacksonville's working on, see some of the opportunities, some of the challenges, and bring some new ideas to the table.
Brandes took a test drive in one of the AVs JTA has been testing at its facility and heard more about the Authority's AV program from its automation team. Brandes says he got interested in driverless technology while in the Army as a way to keep his soldiers safe.
So I was an Army officer for 11 years. I served in 2003, 2004 in Iraq with the 101st and did combat convoys. When I came back home, I thought I was going to come back and work for my family business, and ultimately ended up running for the Florida legislature, and was part of a very talented class. Decided that I needed to figure out the big idea in these different areas of public policy. Started watching TED Talks and came across Sebastian Thrun's discussion at Google on self-driving cars, and recognized that for my life of my soldiers, that we wouldn't have been shot or IED'd or mortared while we were in Iraq if the vehicles had been driving themselves.
Now he's working to make the Sunshine State the leader in this technological advancement.
So I think what you hear and what you see is that there's this theme of innovation that's driving these cities. They recognize that we're in this kind of interesting space between the lightning and the thunder right now, where we know something big is going to happen. We just need to be ready for it. And so while we're operating in that space, what you see is communities around the state that are open to these ideas, that are piloting different ideas, that want to focus on the future.
Regarding the upcoming AV Summit, Brandes said he was looking forward to seeing new advancements, including more public transit uses, as well as what's being done in the area of commercial trucking.
We're about to see the biggest transportation shift in our lifetimes. Frankly, it's like our great-grandparents went from the horse and buggy to the Model T. That's about what we're about to see. Is the world's getting more shared, it's getting more electric, and it's getting more automated. And those are kind of the three mega trends that are going to play out over the coming decades.
Welcome back to Making Moves. Back in March of 2016, the JTA officially took over ownership of the St. Johns River Ferry. Since then, the Authority has invested over $25 million into the ferry, including upgrades to the boat and every portion of the ferry service infrastructure. JTA officials recently celebrated the completion of its most recent upgrade. This latest $7 million project included new customer amenities and safety upgrades. There's no denying the St. Johns River Ferry is a local favorite. Residents and tourists alike just can't get enough of the historic vessel, which makes the nearly 1 mile trip across the St. Johns River between the Mayport Village and Fort George Island. But over the years, operation of the ferry has passed between several different local and state agencies. The future of this quaint but undeniably useful service was looking bleak. Then in March of 2016, the JTA agreed to take over ownership of the ferry service. Former Jacksonville City Council president and longtime ferry advocate Bill Gulliford said JTA's commitment to the ferry has gone far beyond just continuing to operate the service.
It wasn't just, okay, we're going to continue to operate the ferry. It's, okay, we're going to continue to operate the ferry, and by the way, we're going to really enhance that operation to the level it's gotten to today. I mean, this is a fantastic addition and facility.
But the ferry would become more than just another transit option in the authority's portfolio.
It allowed us to do something that I think the JTA is very passionate about, and that is expanding, the mobility options that we provide to the community. So this was a new venture for us, and we were very excited about it then, and we continue to be excited about it.
Over the past 6 years, JTA has transformed every aspect of the service to the tune of $25 million worth of upgrades and improvements to the vessel, landings, and other infrastructure needed to keep the ferry running in top form. During a recent ceremony at the Mayport Landing celebrating the completion of Phase 4 of the upgrades, JTA Chairwoman Ari Jolly announced that the authority's commitment to the ferry service would continue.
In the future, we intend to make more safety and operational upgrades to increase ridership and to encourage more people to visit historic Mayport. That includes funding for a second vessel. What an amazing day that will be when we have 2 ferries going here. We have a dedicated local funding source to purchase a second boat and to upgrade the facilities to house that expanded operation.
In other news, the popular ReadyRide service has expanded again, this time adding 2 new neighborhood zones of operation in Jacksonville. One in Mayport that will also connect to the St. John's River Ferry, and the other in the Wheat Road area of the west side. That's near the recently expanded Collins Road. These new additions bring the total number of ReadyRide zones now to 15. JTA's interim planning director, Michael Epstein, says one of the newer ReadyRide zones, Woodstock, that's in the Murray Hill area, is already expanding.
Increasing from 5 square miles to 13 square miles, expanding to the east and west. To the east, residents can now access the JRTC and shops along Post Street, which runs through the Murray Hill and Riverside communities.
Now, for those of you not familiar with ReadyRide, it's a unique on-demand service that runs 6 days a week for a small flat fee for each trip. Passengers must travel within the designated zone where the trip originated. It's great for those local neighborhood trips to the doctor, shopping, work, entertainment, or to visit your friends. Now, for more information on the 2 new ReadyRide zones or any JTA transit service, go to the website at jtafla.com. It's fair to say that the pandemic has brought change to the business world unlike anything we've seen since the Great Depression in the 1930s. Back then, the financial collapse left millions of people without jobs. But COVID was different. The isolation left millions of people searching for something new and companies struggling to find replacements. JTA is certainly feeling that same pinch and has had to change its philosophy when it comes to hiring new employees, particularly its bus operators. But during all the change, we're finding one thing that has remained the same: the dedication and diligence of those behind the wheel. Case in point, 15-year JTA veteran driver Yvonne Gilliam. On a recent route, she noticed something that just didn't look right. Instead of letting it go and continuing on her route, her instincts kicked in and she took action and likely saved 3 young kids from potential danger. JTA correspondent Vicky Gutierrez picks up the story.
You can typically find bus operator Yvonne Gilliam behind the wheel on Route 19, running between downtown, the East Side, and Regency. On one recent morning, the 15-year JTA veteran says she observed 3 young kids, all appearing under 10 years of age, walking near Market and Beaver Streets all by themselves. Her initial thought was that the kids were walking to a nearby supermarket, presumably to meet their parents. But when the kids then tried to cross busy Union Street packed with morning rush hour traffic, it left her unsettled. So Yvonne took action.
I pulled over as soon as I crossed over Union and informed the kids that I would transport them to their location because it's very dangerous crossing this intersection. I thought they was going to the bus stop when they crossed Beaver and Market because I stopped to let them cross. But when I seen them trying to cross over Union Street, I was like, wow, they're not going there, that's dangerous. I know they was too young to be crossing the street. And when I stopped to pick them up, I asked them where was their school, where were they going at? And they said they was trying to get to school and they missed the bus.
After getting the children onto her bus and reassuring them that she would help, things took an unexpected turn. When she asked them the name of their school, it was one she didn't recognize, and neither did any passengers on her bus. It turns out they were trying to get to an elementary school 5 miles away from their current location.
They got on the bus, and we exchanged information, and I asked them what elementary school they're going to, and they said Pinedale. And one of the passengers on the bus looked it up and found out Pinedale is on the west side of town, and they was on the east side of town.
So Yvonne contacted JTA Dispatch and explained the situation. She then continued her route with the kids in tow, reassuring them that they would be safe with her and that she would see to it that they got to school safely. For Yvonne, the decision to help these young people was an easy one.
I'm a parent, first of all, and a grandparent. So if someone sees any kids in danger, or my kids, anyone's kids, I hope someone step in and help and everything. And that was just a mother's instinct that kicked in. I seen 3 kids somewhere in a dangerous situation, and I wanted to help.
While she was making the decision to get involved and help these kids, what she didn't know was that a frightened mom had called the police about her missing children. JSO later confirmed that a massive air and ground search was about to start when they were then alerted that the kids were safe and sound on a JTA bus.
6 loads of police cars was there when I started coming back inbound, and the police stopped me and asked me was I the driver that picked up the kids early, and I said yes I am. And the police thanked me, and the parent thanked me as well.
Yvonne Gilliam doesn't think of herself as a hero. In her eyes, she's just a concerned mom and grandparent who had the opportunity to do the right thing. That relieved mom might respectfully disagree. On the east side, Vicky Gutierrez, JTA Making Moves.
Welcome back to Making Moves. As we showed you earlier, the 2-day Zero Emissions Forum had lots of bold and intriguing conversation about the future of transportation and how and on what fuel vehicles should be operating. The forum also included a special visit from the head of the Federal Transit Administration, Nuria Fernandez. There was also an expo where attendees could learn more about the products and services that could benefit their transit operations. Making Moves' Carlos Bouvier shows us more.
We believe that bringing the community together in the way that JTA has done for this forum allows us to think regionally about how we take our community into the future when it comes to zero emissions, when it comes to electrification.
It's one of those things where you want to be on the front side of history for things of this nature. So the conversation of going from gas to electric and even going to autonomous vehicles, that's the wave of the future. That's going to come this way eventually. So it's good to be on the front side of that.
WAVE is high power wireless charging, and we're focusing specifically on the medium and heavy duty fleets. We charge vehicles wirelessly, just like you would charge your mobile phone today.
Everybody's a player in it because you have from infrastructure to the end of the line product that goes down the road. So JTA being able to put this on is a good program for everyone to bring everyone together to show where the future's going with electrification with vehicles.
As being an environmental consultation company, we are good stewards of the environment, and we can certainly see where a zero emissions policy and a goal would be very beneficial to the environment. Being a small and emerging business, JSEB and the DBE program, all of those things allow us to play with the big boys, so to speak. So it gives us the opportunity to get in front of the powers that be so that we can move forward ourselves, being a small business, but we get to play a part in some of the bigger picture.
What we hope is that we come out of this with partnerships and more meetings where we come together as a region so that we don't duplicate efforts, but rather we build on each other's efforts.
Before we go, some sad news to report. Florida's oldest World War II veteran and longtime transportation worker, Staff Sergeant Solly Mitchell, recently passed at the age of 103. We got to meet Sergeant Mitchell when he met with JTA CEO Nat Ford and toured the JRTC not long after the facility opened. Mitchell told us about his time working for the railroad, working for civil rights leader A. Philip Randolph, hiring a young Ray Charles to play his high school dance, meeting President Roosevelt and driving to the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his legendary I Have a Dream speech back in 1963. He was a fascinating man who lived a fascinating life. Rest easy, Sergeant Mitchell. We'll all miss you. And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. We thank you for joining us. Please tune in again soon as we continue to bring you the latest in transportation news, economic development, and all things JTA. If you want to watch any of our shows again or catch up on ones you may have missed, we welcome you to check out our YouTube channel. Direct link to the YouTube page is available at jtafla.com. Just click on the icon at the bottom of the page. For the entire Making Moves team, I'm Bill Milnes. Thanks for watching and take care, everybody.